When attempting to learn and improve a skill, most people will simply sink hours in practicing in an attempt to reach their desired mastery. Athletes will build muscle for hours while weightlifting combined with physical exercise, but the body can only practice for so long without naturally tiring out. However, these athletes continue to train their bodies outside of these situations using a technique rarely seen out of physical sports. This method of skill refinement, known as visualization or imagery training, is an exercise where you construct images, scenarios, and situations within your mind. Visualization is a lot more than simply imagining a scene within your mind. It's a form of meditation that requires vivid and precise construction of situations both inside and outside of the game. A good example of imagery training is to close your eyes and try and picture an apple. Most of you watching this video can already do that, but to what depth? Picture the apple's shape, followed by its color, and as much vividness as possible. How does the apple feel? If you extend your hand out in front of you, can you picture the apple in your hand, such as its weight, the texture, or even its taste? If you were to move your arm while it's extended forward, holding the apple, how would it feel? It's important to include as many of the senses as possible, such as visual, kinesthetic, or auditory feedback. You might be asking, but how does simply imagining something help you improve at it? When an athlete undergoes imagery training, they imagine exercises and scenarios and the way it feels for their body to perform these. A batter in baseball imagines how it feels for their muscles in their arm to move to swing the bat, the weight of the bat itself, and picture the velocity of the baseball as it approaches them. Even deeper, they may imagine how their feet are planted, their posture, their positioning, and will even reenact the swinging motion itself in their home, far away from any baseball field. Research shows that imagining yourself doing an action with this extreme vividness builds neural pathways and familiarity very similar to actually performing that action. Additionally, when in stressful situations, building familiarity with the required motions and movement is extremely useful to acclimate yourself to the consistent, high-level performances as well as confidence to perform well during the situations. How many times do you lose a fight in a video game because you're stressed out and start panicking? If you consistently establish these vivid situations where it's difficult to come out on top, you feel as if you have more control over the situation through consistent exposure to it and ever-growing familiarity with the circumstances. Visualization requires practice to be used effectively and understanding how these situations can occur. Let's do a training exercise using Apex Legends, my main game, to help establish some vividness we'll experience building. So, for the first part of this exercise, close your eyes and I'll help you assemble a unique situation in this game. It's important to try not to replicate something that has happened recently, but instead construct a brand new scenario so you can practice building vividness. I'll be instructing you to build the scenario in your mindscape while assembling mine on screen so we can keep our own mind spaces, but if you're having trouble doing so, you can watch the screen and follow along. We're going to start very broad and then narrow it down from there. So for our first element, we're going to pick a location within the game world. You can pick a hot drop, a remote corner of the map, or anything in between. It's important to think big and then narrow it down to a specific area. So decide on a point of interest within the map, then narrow it down to a specific area, and then a specific room or part of it. Next, let's decide what legend we're playing. This is a relatively simple step, as most people will be inclined to pick their main legend or one they've recently played, and that is totally okay. For our next element, we're going to consider what weapon we're using. Pick one weapon. It can be your favorite. Just pick something you're familiar with, just like your legend. For the next step, we're going to visualize an enemy into the world space we've constructed. Think about broad specifics, then narrow it down more and more. For this example, we're going to pick a legend and then place them somewhere within our reach. We're going to judge a distance between us and the enemy. They can be close, medium, or far distance away. Next, we're going to decide their armor value. For our final and most important step, we're going to take this enemy and visualize a clean fight, a 1v1 with you against your enemy, and picture how it would flow in your mind. Let's start really basic. Let's picture you moving within the recollection of the world space we've created, left and right. Let's have your opponent standing still for the purpose of this basic exercise. Think about how it feels to move in the game, and try and picture it in our scenario. Consider the buttons you press on your keyboard or how you move your joystick. Next, let's think about how it feels to shoot your chosen weapon, including recoil, sound, damage markers, and how you actually have to move your crosshair given your input. Are you tracking the target or trying to do small flicks to them? What's the most optimal way to kill the target in a clean and effective way? Keep in mind the relationship between this and the armor value that we gave our opponent earlier. Now, open your eyes.
Enemy down.
You've completed a very basic visualization exercise. But how do we improve upon this skill? What more is there to practice? To help build this imagery training, we can go more in depth and develop our scenario far more vividly. Start adding more elements to your visualization, such as your weapon attachments, another weapon, enemy movements, different armor values, or even things like the enemy shooting back and trading damage with you, or even their movements and how you want to read them and react to them. But how are we going to use just imagining something to improve? To use visualization to improve requires us to focus on ourselves and how we play the scenarios we present to ourselves. Let's quickly assemble a scenario in our head where we one-clip an enemy using R99 with smooth tracking. How would you have to move your hand in order to do that in the most optimal way? When visualizing scenarios, establish a connection using your body to actually enact the movements you visualize yourself doing. Using visualization to improve your aim is best represented in the confines of an aim trainer. While there is less to vividly recreate, becoming familiar enough with the scenario to visualize the bot's movement and therefore how you should move in coordination with it is an excellent exercise for isolating your mouse control and refining the much smaller and precise movements required for aim. When it comes to visualizing yourself, make sure you make use of the various senses as described previously with the Apple example. Think about how you hold your mouse, how it feels in your hand, how you'll utilize the muscles in your hand or arm to move the mouse in the right direction. Now open your eyes and attempt to play the scenario a handful of times with the visualization in mind of how you want to play, how you want to improve and optimize your movements. It is almost equally important to visualize how you feel during certain scenarios. In a stressful situation, your heart might start racing, your breathing might become irregular, and may even start sweating due to the stress acclimating to you. Think about controlling yourself in the best way possible, using some examples of level-headedness in stressful situations and remaining calm. Try and steady your breathing, try and control your heart rate in these stressful situations. Visualizing and controlling these factors in stressful situations will help you stay calm, especially when you're inexperienced and trying to learn. As you learn more and more about first-person shooters or any of its skills at hand, you have more and more to piece together in visualization. When focusing on a specific skill, such as aim, movement, decision-making, or level-headedness, be sure to draw more and greater vividness towards what skill you want to specifically develop. Thank you guys for watching. This technique has helped me out a ton since I've learned about it and has helped solve a lot of the problems I have with application of various mechanics I've been learning. Remember that visualization will be easier or harder depending on each person, so don't be too hard on yourself if you're having difficulty doing it. It's also important to remember that you can visualize almost whenever you want, before you get on for games, in between matches, or even when you're in bed. There's also a list of further readings in the description below if you're interested in reading some of my sources and want to do a deeper dive into visualization. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come ask me on Twitch at twitch.tv/wraithcrew, or come join my Discord at discord.gg/wraithcrew. I have a very open and inclusive community, and we're always welcoming new members. If you're also interested in professional, individualized coaching, you can check me out at medify.gg/wraithcrew. Thank you guys again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps a small creator like me who focuses on education a lot, especially with the algorithm. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.